Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Sandbox Game Saturday stream with myself, Joseph Z. Vision X Matting. On the microphone only, audio only, the face that runs the place on Saturday mornings, here dedicated. Shouldn't even be here because he's sick, but he's here anyway through the magic of the internet. Alex Florez. How you doing today, Alex?
I'm just a wee bit sick.
Just
not dead yet.
A little sicky boy.
Yeah.
All right. And
we'll make
the other face you see on the screen here for this Atari Game Jam announcement ceremony. We got Rad Condad, Conrad Carricker. How are you, Rad Condad?
Doing fantastic this morning. I'm super excited to come help out and do the thing. And we're going to have a great morning.
I'm going to give a special shout out to you right now, Conrad, and chat. You guys got to know the dedication here, all right? You got to know the dedication because this man right here is literally one of the top 1,000 players in the world in a competitive card game that he was in the middle of a paid buy-in tournament in round 2. And we called. Alex calls me. I call Conrad. I said, hey, I need you. The Sandbox game needs you for the stream, for the Atari Game Jam. And he was like, all right, I'm going to quit the tournament. I'm quitting the tournament right now. All right. So that's wild to me. Because he's like, yeah, I paid some money. I paid some cash for this tournament. He's like, I'm out. The Sandbox game is important. The community.
If I could multitask, I would, Joe. You know that.
All right. It's a lot, though. It's a lot, though. You're trying to play on a professional level, and then it's like, nah, I'm out, bro. I gotta do a live stream. Let's talk about what we're doing here today, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Atari Game Jam Awards ceremony, where you created experiences inside the Sandbox Game Maker software and submitted them to win huge prizes in sand cryptocurrency from the Sandbox game. The Sandbox is partnering with Atari through a brand new game jam. This post made on September 17th, about 3 months ago now. Originally, since 1972, game builders have been the heart of Atari. Today, we continue that heritage with Game Jam. Get creative and build out your wildest dreams. Imagine a universe where centipede and asteroids fly together. Play Food Fight with Alien Brigade. Game makers will take 2 of the 15 Atari IPs in the Sandbox and combine them to make their own custom experience. Game makers may use the Atari IP listed below solely for the Atari Game Jam Sandbox promotion. After the Atari Game Jam promotion has concluded, the assets created by the game maker will remain in such game maker's Sandbox account. No other uses, distribution, license, sale, or exploitation of the assets based on or derived from the Atari IP is allowed without express written consent and license from Atari. List of IP users are allowed to recreate Pong, Asteroids, Crystal Castles, Tempest, Sword Quest, Missile Command, Centipede, Black Widow, Yar's Revenge, Millipede, Miner, 2049er, Adventure, Combat, Alien Brigade, Food Fight, Human Cannonball, and Breakout. So what were y'all here for? What were y'all making things for? Rewards, 30,000 total sand-in prizes split amongst the top entries in the following ways. Today, we will announce first place, winning 12,000 sand tokens, plus a 50 Years of Atari NFT. That NFT is the NFT you saw on the pre-roll. I'm going to put that up on the screen right now one more time so you guys can see what that looks like. This NFT goes to the first place entrant here today.
That's the trophy.
That's the trophy.
Is this
that's
not
the trophy from the
trophy?
Sandbox. The first place prize is there's a link to that also. That's those Atari posters.
What do we got? Oh, the posters.
Oh,
my bad.
Yeah,
my bad. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Those are gorgeous, by the way.
Forgive me. Had some pre-show work on this. Second place, 7,000 sand tokens. Third place gets 4,000 sand, and 4th through 10th place each receives 1,000 sand tokens. This contest began September 19, 2022. The deadline to complete and submit the entry was October 16th. Submissions gathering and voting took place between October 17th till November 6th, and the results expected to be announced November 12th, 2022, but there were some delays due to connecting with internal teams and external teams as well. We got it all sorted out, and we're here for you today. These entry guidelines applied must be designed in the Game Maker software. You must have included, or you could have included assets you created yourself. Your game or experience must have included some playability, quests or missions. Your entry must be unique and not a direct copy of existing experiences. You were not allowed to spam multiple entrants into the gallery, low quality experiences. Not completing the submission steps correctly. And then the judging will be done by the Sandbox staff and Atari staff, which again resulted in a little bit of a slowdown on the expected release for us. But nonetheless, we're here having fun releasing these now. What makes an entry valid? The game length should be at least 5 minutes long, excluding timed and collection quests. You must use at least 25 different assets, follow the storyline or theme of the particular Atari games. Experience must be created after the start date. And then the Sandbox staff members have the right to remove any entry as they see fit, and the how to submit your entry in that Medium article. Now, we have our top 10 for this jam. Alex, Radcon Dad, what do you guys think about the Atari Game Jam and some of the general things that you saw in this jam? Because we played some of the experiences on the GMAE show. Some of you guys played. I know Conrad played all of the experiences of one of our internal curated voters. So what did you think about these experiences as they kind of came in for this game jam?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, as always, I am floored by the creative talent in our community. Just the love that people have for gaming, for the IPs, for creating content around these themes. Every single time we do a game jam, people are doing amazing things and doing things that I haven't seen done before in the Game Maker. And it's always amazing to see those new features pop up. And I just shout out to Atari for letting us throw this really cool game jam. I mean, I think it's pretty unique for a game studio, a game company, to just be like, hey, use our IPs, all of them. I mean, it wasn't all of them, but it was a bunch of them. I can't think of any specific instance of another studio or publisher just giving such a blank check basically to a community to go, hey, yeah, you use our IPs, use our brands, use the style and the story, and make something out of that. So I mean, it's just a really super cool opportunity. Congrats to everybody who participated, because you got to participate in something amazing, no matter where you ended up in the ranking. That was a cool opportunity, and I'm happy for all of you who got a chance to do that.
Right, and I just really want to throw on the emphasis on the task at hand here for these studios that decided to step up, and I mean individuals as well that wanted to step up for this game jam. They're combining two different Atari games here. I'm not sure if that was really pressed on for everybody in the chat, but there's two different games that they got to combine, and to do that successfully and do that to where it's not just a carbon copy of the same gameplay, or to figure it out to where you have your own unique narrative that's more than what the limitations of the Atari at the time had. So you get this huge quality of life notion when you're experiencing the Game Maker and trying to think of how can I take a game like Asteroids and give it some narrative meat on the bones to where people want to come back and play it again. Because Asteroids is just, you're a ship, go shoot asteroids, good luck, right? Or you got Human Cannonball, which is, guess what, shooting people out of a cannon. So to see the creative ways that some of these folks went around this was fantastic.
All right, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, we got a video coming up here. This video is the top 10 entrants in no particular order All right. After the voting, we came up with a top 10. We have this video here once again. No particular order for these top 10, but we want to play it back for you so you will know if you are inside the top 10, you'll be guaranteed at least the 1,000 sand if your name and game title comes up on this video. Names and game titles in the bottom left. Alex, you want to read these out for me if you could, or do you see it in real time? Do you want me to read it out?
I've got a delay on it.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read it out in real time then for you. I got you. I just felt the vibes, you know what I mean? Felt the vibes. I wanted to do. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. First of the top 10. Somewhere in the top 10, break out the Missile Command Combat. This created by Shakespeare. They may be with us in the chat right now. Congratulations to you, Shakespeare. It shows a sort of a, rather than a flat sort of mainly vertical sort of combat that you might have seen from a breakout. You're seeing this in a little bit more dynamic, almost like a third-person sort of viewpoint. So pretty nice to see there here. The second of 10 listing, Crystal Miner by Hen Game Studios. This one made it into the top 10 as well. A fun game. Had the opportunity to play this one in the GMAE show. Enjoyed it quite a bit. It was a little bit in that sort of feel that I like to see from an Atari game, where it feels a little bit rudimentary, but also had some advanced mechanics that you'd see on the back end. So I really appreciated this.
Love the layout of it.
Right, Miner versus great. Black Widow, Meta Futura Studio.
Oh man, so we got another, that theming with the Crystal Castle here, where stepping on every single block was kind of the name of the game, but also got to kind of go into the foreground a little bit as well, which was quite a bit of fun. And the creative use of these webs were pretty fantastic.
All right, Miner 100 Legs by Kajoijid.
Love those giant centipedes.
Yeah, seeing the original Atari assets in some of these experiences was nice to see as well. When you see that, they give you the ability to use the IP, but to really see that step up from that original launch of Atari Game Jam, or not Atari Game Jam, forgive me, Atari Land Sale way back. Picking up those assets on OpenSea or something like that, whether you were there for the original sale, I think really helped in terms of the aesthetic.
Right.
Very first premium land sales.
Yeah.
Something you're gonna love to see come through.
All right, we got Astro Miner by GJKOC Games.
I believe that was King of Crypto Games.
And Webbed Pumpkin by Yuri308. Played this one as well on the GMAE show. And it had some really good promise for when they were talking about it here on the show. They talked about sort of having a shorter development cycle for this. So it's really nice to see them kind of make it into the top 10 on this.
Right. And you guys got to remember, as these game jams go on, there is not very much time to, jam it out and get these games produced. So the level of effort you're seeing here is phenomenal, no matter what level you're at.
We got Secret Recipe by Team Serenity. And look at the way these floor tiles kind of flip. They do it in a different way than some of the other assets you've seen. I like the aesthetic to it.
This is just the top 10 Meta Futura. We have not gone into where the placements are yet, but I did really enjoy how this one had you running around throwing food. Is fairly silly, and the narrative got me as well. Once again, messing with that foreground is something you don't really get to see in 2D platformers.
All right, Adventures of Human Cannonball by Duidam, forgive me. I think I always read that wrong when I read it live in the chat.
That one was just, how can you take Human Cannonball to the next level?
Yeah, I got a chance to play this on the live stream. Had a blast with that. There's some pretty silly moments there.
All right, and then we got Bounty Bob on Asteroids by Yoshimi.
Again, reminding us of what our collabs are here. Throw in some of those wonderful adventuring
and
moments.
Divine Quest here by Vpire.
It was hard to tell past the watermark there, but there's a lot of narrative in this one. And
oh yeah, that really brought the story
gripping
to the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're very well known for that strong narrative design. You saw them in some of the earlier game jams, and still their game included in the Sandbox season of content from season 2 and 3. So nice to see them sort of make it back here into the Atari top 10.
For sure.
All right, and that brings us back here into the Atari Game Jam. We have now an announcement for second place and third place in the following video. And then, as is tradition here on this show, we're going to play live for you the first place winner. Got some questions coming in through the chat from Backspace over on YouTube.com. Says, would some of the future game jams have a chance for the community to vote as well? Or a separate prize for the community best, like game and not just only internal voting? Alex, do you have any insight on that?
I would like to see a community choice award.
Yeah, it's something that we are definitely interested in producing. It's something I've talked with Andy Ritchie, who many of you in the chat are familiar with, runs our Game Jam events, and that is something that we would like to pursue. There are some concerns with how it's run to make sure that it stays fair, that we don't have people trying to like either farm accounts or just like calling up every single extended family member and friend from high school and be like, hey, just vote on my thing. You don't have to play it. Just vote on it.
Right.
So there's some infrastructure needed to make sure that this is a fair thing where people are actually playing the game and rating it. So that requires some feature build, probably both on the website and in the Game Maker. But we'll see how that develops. There are a bunch of staff who are interested in seeing community voting become a thing.
Right.
It has to be done in a way that's fair and not easily schemed around. So
Sure.
Yeah, I would like to see that community choice award, not necessarily hand out a prize or something like that, but just generally give attention to a game that may not have made it to the top 10 or that didn't necessarily get played in in that way that the dev intended, but still found that cult following. Get some attention, right?
Yeah, and that I think that's going to be really good as we continue to do these game jams and the community continues to grow. Things like that. Username not Jackie Chan over on YouTube has another comment that I really appreciated. They just say Atari's Minor 2049er is one of the first video games they ever played. And I really appreciate that, seeing the community's grown up with these experiences, whether you've been playing, the Pongs and the Breakouts, or you've played some of their older content. I remember, and I think I brought it up on this show before, but I had played Pole Position on Atari. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a racing game. It's pretty straightforward. You're moving left to right as the cars come through. And if you're doing it right, you're not hitting obstacles or other cars and you're going through. But the interesting thing about that game, the thing that I remember the most was that audio on the old school Atari was very, we'll call it rough. And I remember Pole Position specifically. I'd never understood what the announcer was saying. I just thought like maybe if they were speaking, that must be good because they'd be like,
right.
And then you're like, what's going on? All right, I must be a champion right now. All right, but I'm weaving and bobbing around cars, and I just keep hearing, and we're having a good time with that. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. We got the second and third place winners right here.
Just real quickly, while we're reminiscing on memories of Atari from childhood and whatever.
Sure.
Pong was actually the first game I ever tried developing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good choice. I'm surprised you didn't skip straight to doing Doom on a TI-84 or whatever.
All right, Joe, who we got here?
All right, so this is a third place entrant, Adventures of a Human Cannonball by Dudidam. Of those top 10. Getting third place is pretty nice. This is a reminder, third place won you 4,000 sand tokens for this work that you've done. It's a fantastic experience. Looks nice and shiny. And then we've got Secret Recipe by Team Serenity that made it in as number 2. Number 2 winning 7,000 sand tokens here. And once again, I think this is a combination of really decent gameplay and a really nice aesthetic. And when you can get those things right, you're finding yourself with a high quality game that will get you up here into this top position among the top 10. So really cool. Nice to see good synergy between the assets. I think one of the more interesting things here is with all these assets flipping, it can be difficult to see those things sort of come together. And it looks like we've got a spoiler right here for first place, ladies and gentlemen. First place in the top 10 in the Atari Game Jam. This is Minor 100 Legs by Kajoijid coming through. The trailer chat was labeled second and third. I wanted to save it for the gameplay as we play it here live for you. But you know what? The trailer's got it. And why hold it back? Congratulations. That's 12,000 sand and a 50 years of Atari NFT going to you, Kajoijid, and potentially your small team of builders. Not sure if you did it on your own or if you did it with a group, but it's a high quality experience. And it's very nice to have you have created this for the Atari Game Jam with the Sandbox Game Maker software. Had a good time. Let's play this, all right? Let's play ourselves some Minor 100 Legs. And we'll see what this is all about, because it's my understanding, and I haven't played this live. I know that, Conrad, you got a chance to play this. We've seen it, of course, in the trailer, but we're going to pull it up here. Live gameplay, Minor 100 Legs. This is, from my understanding, a really high-quality, well-polished game with relatively simplistic, fun mechanics. Is that an accurate description, or is there something else that I'm missing?
It really encapsulates the idea of combining the two games together, because you have really realistically rudimentary games, right, to work with. So trying to figure out how to mash those together without making it, a whole different game was a very difficult task for everybody here. And to, as I said, try and fill up a narrative is already hard enough. But this game, well, it speaks for itself. You're mining and, well, there's centipedes. Good luck. Move quick. And it's also got, this, Crystal Castle-esque go collect quests, right? So we're just moving along. And it just kind of fits the theme of all of these Atari games in one, which is, collection, avoid the death.
Sure. Okay.
I'm not sure if this was intentional in their design, but there's an aesthetic here that results from some decisions that they made, which just gives it a nice crunch for me. Which is the fact that there's collision on the ore as you run over it, so you get this kind of this feedback almost, if like holding a rumble pack almost. You get this chunk as you pick up all of the ore, which it just feels really satisfying to watch, and to play. I think it's just it's just a little chef's kiss on top.
Right. My initial interaction with it, that kind of got to me, but after actually spending more than 30 seconds on it, I was like, wait a second, this kind of adds to it, because you get this visceral notion that yes, you are mining, and it's not just you running around swinging the pickaxe randomly, which again, look at that animation when you do swing that pickaxe to take care of those spiders. It's very silly,
It's funny because you sort of want, or your character seems to want to mine into the wall, but that also makes sense if you think about it from a level design perspective, that each one of these sections is likely on the sides or on multiple levels or on the walls of the level itself. So as we go through, that like attack is going to the nearest enemy, and it's interesting to see that sort of applied in real time. Now the spider here, get out of here. Spider, not a huge threat, but at the same time, I think that also kind of harkens back to older Atari experiences as well. Not all enemies were overt threats. Some of them were passive threats that might have just been
it's
there.
An obstacle, right?
Right. Obstacle to go past or by. And you can sort of appreciate the art in its own right. And it's mostly about timing here. Not too difficult, but also, once again, not necessarily designed to be difficult. It's clean gameplay, and that can sometimes be enough. If you end up playing through an experience, especially in a game jam like these, and while you're playing the experience, you find 1, 2, 3, 5 glitches throughout, or like overt exploits, it can sometimes take you out of the experience.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, heck. All right. Yeah, I got.
And, respectively to the developers of all of our games, with each edition coming out and kind of mixing up how you have to code, that can be kind of taxing. So, and keeping up with all of the patch notes and all of the ins and outs of the game maker, that's a huge task. And I commend everybody who's doing that and giving it a shot.
All right, so we're
Not Jackie Chan says created their own millipede and centipedes. Pretty impressive. That would be impressive, although I believe those are the assets that came from the land sales, are they not?
I believe they are.
Yeah. Either way, it's a fun ride, and I'm definitely enjoying it. The collection aspect of it also didn't make me feel agony. Which is something that can be very difficult to avoid with collection quests, because it just how they've placed everything combined with having to step on every single platform, that typically is a major turnoff for me in games. But how the level design was for this one, it just kept it engaging, and I didn't mind waiting for the centipede to move out of the way or trying to figure out my next route. It didn't really feel painful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think it's more like, because it is almost puzzle-like in the way that there is some timing mechanics here, it doesn't, even just getting these steps in, what the challenge is, what it's placed before you, and can I do this?
Mm-hmm. Azarin TV asks, what is that experience? This is Minor 100 Legs from the Atari Game Jam, and you can find it on page 45 of the Game Maker gallery right now. So if you go to sandbox.game, download the Game Maker from our Create part of the site, then you can log in and find this on page 45.
All right, so I think I've got everything short of these last 4 blocks, which are in the upper section, and I just need to take that downward ramp to get over to those.
And you can actually play all of these games that are in this top 10 today.
Ooh. All right, got him. Level 4, collect. Okay, mining. What do we mine? Oh, we grabbed the TNT. Here we go. The wall opened.
Okay, door's open.
All right, getting these. The platform came over at the right time. I really appreciate that. I don't, having these sort of offset timers, often platforms may not arrive at the same time. I missed a treasure. I missed the one treasure that was open back there. I'm gonna have to go back and get that for sure. Here we go.
Oh, for sure. Hen Game Studios will be giving out the full list probably shortly here.
Usually it gets released on Twitter sometime like right after this stream.
Yeah, we'll release it in
Or in the next day
tandem
or
to
two.
have to make sure that each person or team is tagged appropriately, gets that sort of attribution for their work. We'll have that up on Twitter in a short while. What do you got? Okay, I was able to grab it from that angle. Thank you. Where you at, bro? Up! Oh, well, there it is. Timing is everything. Speaking of timing, did you notice the time mechanic at the bottom of the experience as well? Sort of ticking down?
Mm-hmm.
So
You've got it at the bottom and the top.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to sort of pay attention. Oh, my goodness, bro. Get out of here. Go away. No, go away. I don't want.
And as Backspace over on YouTube points out, we'd like to see the speed of the centipede to increase and the directions more random as the level changes to make it more challenging. And I do agree. If there was more times and more levels, that is the next kind of step that you would be taking to increase your your level of play. So.
Right. Yeah, no, I would agree with that as well. I think that's something that as a dev you look at when you're once you've got the core concepts completed and the mechanics work as intended, then you start to think about your degree of difficulty and how do we make this appeal to the greatest contingent of users, right? So you can get that done for sure just by making like the spiders a little bit more active. Oh, this is interesting. Give me those. Oh yeah. Exploit it. Not really necessary, I think, given the difficulty that it is, but no, I think, and that's where a game can step up and sort of shine purely on the merits of its clean mechanics. And then, especially in a game jam where you have a relatively short development window, you're going to see the clean mechanics step up first, maybe a good narrative or something like that. And then from there, when a dev wins a game jam like this, right, you could take the funds that you get here and you could say, okay, I want to polish this and I'm going to publish this as an experience on my land inside the metaverse. And, where do we go from there? You can take it to the next level and say Atari Game Jam winner, and you have the experience in a more developed, fully fleshed out way instead of a sort of concept.
Right, and that's where you start getting to the point to where you want to start publishing these games on your lands and, really get to that top tier level.
I think a pretty simple way you could implement something for a little more challenge with those centipedes and millipedes is if you have multiple moving platforms that are all parent-childed together, and all you need to do is kind of calculate their max distance and set different offset timers on them. And because they're all attached to each other, they'll kind of telescope to extend out. And you'd make those all invisible and stuff. But what you'd end up with is a difficult to predict. It might not be 100% random, but it would be difficult to predict as a player who can't see the inner workings behind the scenes. And you'd get these patterns of moving one direction and doubling back, and sometimes it would go faster or slower if the platforms are moving against each other or with each other. Could mix it up a little bit, make it a little more zesty, a little spicy.
Add a little chili, a little cilantro to it, spice it up. I'm risking it for the biscuit. There we go. Easy.
There we go.
Get on back here now. Heck yeah. Let's go. That's going to probably explode the thing below. Heck yeah.
And that's another step that you could do is, adding in little special effects to throw in everywhere to really take it to the next level. Maybe the millipedes, centipedes, maybe they don't just simply pop out and then go on their route. Maybe they pop out and do a quick attack and then move on with their business. There's a lot of different ways to change this for the better. And honestly, I think this one could only get better.
All right. So where am I at here? I'm at I almost have all the miner equipment. You can sort of I like the fact that some of the blocks, I mean, they sort of behave a little bit like a traditional platformer, like a Mario or whatever, where you can sort of hit them from under because they are proximity based. You've got these different missions.
I think you could do more with the the platforming that way. Make some maybe red herring platforms where you think you need to run across the top of them, but instead you can bop them with your head.
Right.
Save some time.
Yeah, or if it's the other direction where you can only hit them with your head, like there's no ladder to climb up to go get them. I think that could add a little depth to it as well. But the way that it is here, the thing that I like about this the most really is that it's intuitive, right? When I'm playing through this experience, I don't need the quests that are on the right side to know kind of what I'm doing. It's I have a pickaxe. Here's a thing in front of me that I can't just pick up. Can I hit it with a pickaxe? Oh, that worked. You know, I've got an enemy. Can I hit it with a pickaxe? Yes, that worked. Stepped on the floor, got the thing. It worked. You know, between the eggs, the miner equipment, the whatever. If it's an asset that stands out, you should hit it. You should do it, whatever it may be. And it looks like I've made it to the victory screen. There we go. So playing through, 4 different levels, all clean levels, all really clear objectives without the need for a bunch of like, hey, click this, you know. It didn't lag when I had any of the particular assets that I had grabbed. Nothing in particular had to spawn. It's so really well optimized experience. There's a lot of really, really good things about the way that Miner 100 Legs was designed. And to see that when the chat says there's only necessarily like a degree of difficulty thing to look at, I think that's pretty good. That's a pretty good starting metric to see
For sure.
Where that is. Metafutura, the remaining 7 winners, if you have an experience that was entered and you want to see some of the details, you can reach out to the council for some notes on that. If you had an experience that you created and you're looking to, you know, improve on that, you can absolutely do that. But, you know, it's the other 7 winners will go out on a tweet thread here in, you know, either today, tomorrow, maybe Monday. But usually they come out right after we make this announcement here.
Backspace notes that maybe the timer's not super necessary. I think the timer's okay. I feel like there's a couple different things that could be done with this experience. And not because there's anything wrong with the way it is now. There's just some design choices that could be made. It definitely could be a tighter timing, make it a little more challenging, kind of get you a little sweatier running through those platforms.
Sure.
And I think a way that you could make that a little clearer to the player is by potentially having a quest with the timer that could get you that game over if you don't beat that quest in that timing. And sometimes those quests can be a little tricky to set up to synchronize correctly with the other things that are going on. But that would be one way that it would be more present to the player. They'd see it on the screen the whole time instead of just when they're at the bottom or the top. And having it in the quest makes it a little more forward and a little more aggressive. There's definitely other things that could be done to mix it up, and these may be decisions that Kajoijid thought about and chose one way or the other because they felt it was more fun with the way that they picked it. So these are just some kind of ideas that could be thrown out there, and maybe they work, maybe they wouldn't. This is all about testing and iterating and figuring out what's the most fun for players. You could potentially have not all of the gems and mineable items. I guess the black one. I don't know if it's supposed to be coal or if it's.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. Coal. Yeah, usually.
I believe it's coal. Yeah.
And it appears like there's gold. So coal, gold, and gems. if you make not all of them collectible, you could have a top score. So perhaps there would be an exit door instead of automatically advancing to the next level. So there could be a challenge specifically getting to the exit door, collecting as much as you can in that time limit, and seeing how much you can get away with before the end of the game.
Sure.
And that's something that can be done to give a lot of replayability, because once you've beat this game, you've completed all 12 quests, or was it 12 or 15, something like that?
It was 12, yeah.
Yeah, 12.
Once you've beat the game, you've done everything there is to do. But if you make that timer a little bit more strict, put a little more pressure on the player, which some people like, some people don't. So again, this is what's the most fun for the player, what's the most fun for the developer. But if you put that pressure on time and make the amount of collectible items kind of optional, maybe you have to get the equipment in order to open the door at the end, but you don't have to collect all the ore. Then you see what your score is at the end, and you can keep on pressing that time limit, trying to get a little bit more each time, and that gives some replayability and will make the experience maybe more engaging in the long run.
Yeah, and
I
mean,
think sorry, Joe, but that just does kind of encapsulate once again that this was a mashup game, to where once you start trying to upgrade it and go past the game jam now, and you want to publish this game on your own land, you're going to be looking at major quality of life upgrades that you might not have considered because of the game jam itself. So when these creators are playing and creating for the game jams, they're really trying to concentrate on the task, not necessarily just to make a good game, but to also do something within the qualifications.
Yeah, and I think to that point, when you're doing stuff inside of a box, right, and you're making a game jam experience, in this particular experience, you saw it had 4 levels of play, right? But the one thing that I would say is that I don't see an acceleration in the difficulty of play among those 4 levels. Typically, when I see an experience that gets designed, whether it's a 5-minute game or a 55-minute game, I'm going to want to see that slowly ramp that difficulty so that your player can come in, they can go, what is this? What's it all about? They can come into, experience number 1 here. Okay, level 1, collect. What do I collect? I'm just walking around looking to collect. Now, the game is already telling me what I collect because mining, right? And collect all the miner equipment has come in. But if I just read collect and I just start to walk, I'm already getting the mining done. So I like this. This is very introductory. The time mechanic isn't really getting into dangerous territory as I come through here. I've got something nice to collect and I can go. So on easy, I'm going to want that timer slow enough that I don't have to push the run button and it just works. Just in case this is one of the first time user experiences anybody plays, it's very unlikely, but you should always design with that in mind. I think the game has that going for it, but if I was testing this, I would check to make sure that every jump is easy enough that I don't have to run to do the jumps, and that the monsters or whatnot, whether they be the centipede, millipede, the spiders, anything in your game, are easily avoidable, and that pretty much everything is straightforward. They understand the mechanics of how to use the Sandbox game client. So when I first come into stage 1, the quest pops off, right? But I would also like to see some sort of text involved with this that says, press this to move, and also, or maybe a more in-depth storyline-based text that says, like, I should really get going, parenthesis, press WASD to move, hold shift to run, right? And now your players can learn the mechanics and, make it easy for them. Whether, again, because some people are going to play this and you're their first experience. So, that's good. And then you can get into section 2, and as the users are talking about in the chat, the time can speed up because we've got the combat mechanics are pretty straightforward. Click to attack, that's done. I can get all the mining done. I can move to the next level. if you apply Alex's principles, then you don't have to do all the mining. You collect all 5 of the assets. But if you apply that where you don't have to do the mining, which I agree is the better choice between that and collecting all the equipment, I would make sure that one of the equipments is easily avoidable, at least. That way the users, if you must path this way here, then this pickaxe shouldn't be incidentally avoidable. It should be easily avoidable. Or the one at the very end should be easily avoidable, so I can go be a perfectionist. I can go complete the experience. All right, let's see here. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really high quality in terms of polish, as I mentioned, and I think that's really what took it to this next level and took it to the very top. But really good stuff.
Oh yeah, and none of these are criticisms. These are all just looking towards the future, because what we see with these game jams is not that, game jam's done and we just forget about the games forever.
Right.
No, we like publishing these games as part of our seasons, and seeing, you're creating content for this platform. We like to see these things come back around. And so what can we do to make this fresh and interesting the next time people see it? And how can we make this a highly replayable experience that will that you'll see success with in the future? So these are all just suggestions, things that we observe, but it's not because there's anything wrong with the game. I mean, it plays great and everything works. That's
right.
And it won. So I mean, there's no real criticism here. This is all just looking for greater possibilities when you have all the time to work on this, when you're not under the pressure of that deadline for the jam entry. So
right, and I think
you've got you can do there.
In terms of like the timer, right? It seems to me that each level has the same time length to complete them. So if a level is larger and longer, then maybe the time being exactly the same as it's coded makes sense. If the level is not larger and longer, then we should be making this time shrink over, so that it moves faster. And the way that you target that is you have a timer at the bottom, you have a timer at the top, and you tend to complete the level either at the bottom or the top. So I like that in terms of a UI in the game. But if you are finishing it as a dev, as one of the most experienced people, if you're finishing this with loads of time at the end, then maybe that's not well optimized, because there's always going to be somebody who's faster than you, and there's going to be people who are way slower than you because they don't have all the time playing the experience. So if you're finishing your experience and you're super fast, maybe you're targeting, you have got 80% of the time used on the very last level. And then you start to have people who get that sense of accomplishment from doing it at all, that'll come back to play it again and again until they get it. And then you can start to sort of incorporate these experiences in maybe speedrun competitions or whatnot, this thing that you've designed, because you have to be decently skilled to complete it at all. And then the top players who can do it super fast are going to come in for a competition. So just ideas, just spitballing here. And again, as Alex said, not a discredit to the experience, just thinking about how do we transition a limited time design sort of event like a game jam experience, transition that into an unlimited time. Let's make it a perfect experience now that people are going to want to play, potentially pay to play, or play over and over and over going forward. So,
and how could you implement, your own elements to try and make it something that you will want to replay over and over again? Do you add in some sort of leaderboard like we had suggested before from Alex? Do you make it to where there's incentive for getting that completion? Like, what will make your players want to come back and potentially spend money on your game? What is going to make me want to put that quarter on the machine?
Right. Quarter. This guy hasn't been to an arcade in 30 years, bro.
Oh, I know it's all slide cards.
Crazy.
Now.
It's kind of less satisfying that way.
It is. It's so less satisfying.
It is. Okay. So we had my daughter's 5th birthday at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
Last weekend, and It's the first time I've been to a Chuck E. Cheese in like probably 15 years.
Okay.
And so this is the first time I went to one where they had the slide card. And what is cool is you can get unlimited play. And I didn't realize that at first. It's you put down for a number of minutes you're playing. And when I realized that, I went to my daughters. I'm like, just play as fast as you can. Like, you'll get so many more tickets. Play. And my daughters are like looking around like, oh, do I want to play that one? That one? Play both of them. Like, just go.
What do I do? What do I do?
There's
so
no
funny.
time to hesitate.
I love it. I love it. They got you, Alex. As somebody,
and I mean, just
we min-maxed Chuck E. Cheese. That's what we did.
I love it. I love it.
But to speak on arcades in general, a lot of the games that are there now are like super gimmicky phone games, right? So
Sure.
Yeah.
If that can be done in an arcade setting, what is really stopping, our audience, our builders, our creators from capturing that same, that same magic, that same, amount of income, really, but here on the platform?
Yeah, well, so a couple of things. First, I want to laugh at Alex, who totally got by the arcade industry. Okay, because that's absolutely the whole gimmick. Every single one of those machines, like even the ones that are like, I don't know, the Jurassic Park shooter where you sit down and you shoot, you can define the amount of time, and the machines have built-in metrics for exactly how many tickets they gave out. So they just go like, I want to have an average of 25 tickets an hour coming out of this machine, and whatever it takes to make that happen. Some of the machines auto reconfigure to meet those numbers. Like the all the claw machines, like you can custom set how clawy they are. So you're like, the machines that are like, you're guaranteed to win. If it's one of those, they're just like, screw it, turn it all the way up. You win every time. Like, it doesn't matter because the toy in there costs $1 and you paid $3 to play. You know what I mean? But you're there to have fun. And I think it's really funny to hear you say something like, yeah, we min-max the heck out of it, because it's like,
it's not a token price. It's time.
Right.
Yeah. So they have 60 minutes to play as many games as they can.
Absolutely.
And so I'm not worried about they're 5 and 7. I'm not worried about them getting the most number of tickets possible.
Yeah.
I was saying min-max,
but
is
also,
a joke,
don't think about what you're playing. Just like you can play everything as much as you want.
Walking in a circle, I know it's awe-inspiring to be 7 years old and be like,
absolutely,
video games everywhere I look.
Video games. Yeah, no, 100%. I just think it's funny in that, just with that sort of insider knowledge of like how each one of those sort of different machines are working. I'm like, because I would see kids come in and do that all the time too, especially kids like in our area. Like it's pretty poor, right? We don't have a lot of money in the area relative to the rest of the country. And so people would come into the place sometimes just once a year or for the first time ever and never again. And, when you see that sort of play come through where you tell them like, oh no, you have an hour and you can do whatever you want as much as you want. And they're like, what? And then what do I want to do? Do I want to play skee-ball? Do I want to play this Jurassic Park sit-down shooter? Do I want to play in virtual reality? What do I want to do? And you just do everything.
And then inadvertently kind of goes to the discussion of when you're creating your lands, if you're going to have it gated, are you going to have it as a one-time pop? Are you going to have it as something that you can do for a week, a month? Are you going to change your gating? How are you going to monetize your land? And that's something that I'm excited to see play out. Yeah,
and that's sort of perfect with that industry. And I when I first found the Sandbox game, I used to think of it in that exact way of like relative to at the time I was working in that exact industry for arcade. So it was like, this is a giant arcade room, the Sandbox game experience. And whenever people are making games for it, they could think of it in those exact two types of mechanics, right? Where it is the quarter to play a game once, or it's the get your lifetime subscription sort of mechanic. And if you're doing those things, then you should be thinking about the different kinds of ways that might work. And one of the things that you do with that like unlimited time mechanic is you take games that don't have an expense except for electricity, like the sit-down shooter games or the Area 51 game, and you just say, it doesn't really matter how long you play this, right? Because people are pretty much always just going to buy the unlimited time, and they're not going to pay per like whatever, because it's going to be like, oh, $20 you can get whatever number of tokens, or $25 and you could play unlimited for an hour. And they're like, I'm going 25, of course, And so as designers, as designers in your experience, though, you can be thinking about it in the same way and thinking about doing the same sort of mechanics where you can offer potentially ad hoc, this experience, that experience, and it costs 1 sand or whatever it's going to be to play your experience. And then on the other side, you go like, or unlimited plays, you just need to own this NFT, this piece of art that I've made in the VoxEdit, or, maybe it's a separate NFT, something, the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT or whatever exclusivity you want to give to it. And so then they can do sort of a financial principle in their head and go like, oh, well, for another $50 or whatever, I can play this as many times as I want with, 10 expected updates to come in 2023 or something. And then they're like, oh yeah, I want to play all the updates, so I'm going to pay for the NFT to get this, And whether it's this minor game or any other experience that came through in the Atari Game Jam, those things can all apply to all of your experiences. So it's really, really interesting to see how those worlds collide for me personally, as somebody who came from that industry.
For sure.
All right, Joe.
I'm excited.
Alex.
I'm excited too, Conrad. There's a lot of cool possibilities, and I wish people could see 0.8 already.
Right.
Same.
So, Alex, if I wanted to start doing game jams right now, where would we go to start looking at those?
Oh, hey, guess what? We've got a game jam running right now.
Which one?
Or WMG.
I'm going to try to find it.
Let me see if I find the link. I got it right here. I'm putting it in the chat right now. Warner Music Group Game Jam.
Hey, there we go.
Go check
I'd
that
like
out.
to find it on the screen.
Now, Alex, if I were to start building a game jam, I got to go from scratch, right? There's APEC inside of the YouTube chat that kind of has a similar question that I do. Can I start building assets now and have them be added into my game later?
So, yes, in a way. So I want to make sure I say it carefully that I'm not twisting the rules. Really, it's
right.
You can make assets that you can use for anything, right? So this treasure chest that was used in the winning game jam. There's other treasure chests that are on the Sandbox Marketplace. You can buy treasure chests. You could find them on OpenSea. There's all these gold like shields and spears and stuff. Those are assets that come with the game maker. So it is to your benefit as a game designer to have good game design resources at your disposal. So if you plan on making games about mining, make those mine carts, make those tracks, make those tools, make those characters. I wouldn't say that would be a problem for a game jam if like the game, as long as your game is fitting in the concept of the game jam and you're not just kind of shoehorning your pre-made game into it. That's really what that rule is about, is that you haven't made a game already and then the game jam theme comes out and you're like, oh yeah, I'll put some decoration on this experience that has nothing really to do with the theme of the jam. That's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to make sure that you start the design process of your game when the game is announced. Roxy Miguel says, make wolves for more wolf games. Yeah, you got to have at least 3 different kinds, right?
4 wolves on the default template, Alex. All right. For that
game, NA.
Literally, I think it would be a fun game jam if we literally just called it 4 wolves on a default template and see what happens. Because somebody will be like, they'll make the default template, and then like you talk to one wolf, and the whole template would just be destroyed, and there'd be a real epic experience under it. And some other people would be like, "Wait, you just put 4 wolves in a default template? Hell yeah, bro!" I think it'd be great. Now I'm seeing a comment here that's interesting from Pickaxe Master. Saying, when wallet integration? MetaMask announced today a new SDK for Unity integration. And here's the thing. I'm going to give you some scope and scale. Not 100% accurate, but vaguely accurate. All right. Let's say today you, Pickaxe Master, said, I would like wallet integration in your platform. And you know that it's compatible. Based on what is already being built and what ideas are already in the pipeline, usually execution of that takes between 3 months and 9 months, sometimes longer, depending on the sophistication for that. We already sort of have wallet integration built in via the email login, and then how that associates backwards with the dashboard at sandbox.game. So probably not going to be high on the priority list, but something that could be on our radar for sure for simplicity reasons.
Particularly as we talk about arcade kind of monetization mechanics, that's going to be something that we're looking into. But it's down the road. It's not the first thing on the roadmap here.
Yeah.
Right.
And then let me see there. Also, Paul, Life Made Me over on twitch.tv. I took down a note. They said, hello, please add WMG Game Jam final song page 4 to your testing list. So chat.
Beat me to it.
We have added it to the list, and if you have a game or experience that you're creating for a game jam and that game jam isn't done yet, just know that we will play test those experiences live on our shows here on the official channel. So you can tag myself, you can tag Alex, you can tag RadCondad here. That's at TheVisionX, at Kamisaze, or at RadCondad on Twitter. And we will take notes of those experiences, or you can ask us to play them live here on this show. And in future shows, we will play those. If not, on the same day, depending on the complexity of our schedule at the time. So,
and so my final question to Alex, what if I have a partially built game? Can I join a game jam then?
Nope. I
nope.
answered that.
According to the rules, you do need to start on the game after the start date. So now you can kind of get away with the little thing where, like, if you made the game save file and it was just, blank before you hadn't done any work on it and just kind of sitting there in your library as like a blank thing, or even I'd even say like one of the templates, and it's just sitting there and you haven't done anything with it yet, and you're like, oh, I want to use this space. That's fine. But the difficulty that you'll see as somebody trying to release the game is the way the gallery is currently organized. It's going to be way back in the results from all the other Game Jam competitors. So while the judges will still need to go and find it wherever it is, it's going to give you a lot less visibility to new players who might be interested in playing your game, who might be even looking for it if you said that you were working on it. And they see like 5 pages of Atari Game Jam results all clustered together because they all started on the same week, and then yours is like 100 pages back in the gallery.
Yeah, and I kind of want to clarify this because I see the user who had asked, I picked code check over on youtube.com. I would recommend that you just don't start your experience ahead of time at all. And I mean, like, as Alex said, like, even just turning on a thing that is a default template and saving and going like, I'll work on this later. And I'm like, there's no need to save slots essentially early, because the only thing that's going to happen is you'll get somebody like Andy, who's in charge of the game jams, who might go, well, that's a little weird. It's been published for 3 months, or like it's 3 months older than everything else published. And he might auto disqualify it just because he doesn't know that you started it later. And it gives you no advantage to sort of pre-save those things because you're not actually doing any work on it. So There's no purpose in starting it early, no reason to start it early. Just start it on the day that it is expected to be started. That way you get, as Alex said, nice optimization. You're in the same bundle of other experiences. And another thing that can happen too is, let's say it is this Atari experience, right? And these things get forwarded to the Atari team and they're looking for your game. And they're going like, man, I'm on page 200. Where is it? You know, you don't want to have that. You want to make sure that whoever is voting for that can easily find your experience. And that's a lot easier when you generally have, 20 or 30 pages worth of window to find these experiences in. So no reason you should not be working on games before the game jam for that game jam. That is one of the rules.
And Ipek, it seems like you want to work on the game. I'm sorry to maybe I'm being a little too aggressive, but the way you're asking the question makes it sound like you're seeking to do this, but we just would recommend that you not do it this way. And the game is not organized on the gallery by the date of publish, but by the date of creation. So all the things that we're saying about like organization on the gallery, that still applies even if you didn't publish it, because it's actually when you created the game file that determines where it ends up on the gallery for now, at least with the current sorting mechanics. And there's other metadata in the background that we can see through developer tools and API stuff that we check on these things. That's part of my job in helping with these game jams is checking the metadata around these games to make sure that people are using only assets that they made or bought, which is another one of the rules, is not using other people's assets unless you bought them from the marketplace. So of course, we do check on those things.
Right. And of course, you do have the caveat of every one of these game jams are going to be usually unique, like this one here. So even if you have something started and you think you're going to get ahead of the curve for that next game jam, well, your game probably won't actually apply to the subject at hand. And mostly with the game jams, it is, 30% good game, but it's probably 40% subject. And it's probably 40%, let's go ahead and do what the purpose of the game jam is, and then do all the polish, right?
Yeah, so, and that's the thing, is like if you went and you tried to do that where you were like, oh, well, I've pre-made this experience, you're going to end up having to spend more time like deleting and dumping things than like,
oh goodness,
it wouldn't be worth it. Then you would have really wasted a bunch of time creating or pre-creating and then dumping everything just so that you can make it, cohesive with what a game jam experience is. But once again, regardless of who you are, where you are, if you are creating an experience for a game jam and you want some help with that, or if you had your entry submitted, like Hen Game Studios here, Crystal Miner, we will play your experience there on the GMAE show starting on Monday. Currently, I'd like to play it here live, Hen Game, but we are starting to run out of time here on this particular show. We will play that on Monday, your Crystal Miner experience, and we will play the game from Life Made Me Paul. But definitely have an opportunity to submit your experiences, submit your games, to get those feedbacks live. We do QA all the time on these experiences for officially published content, for public content, and we're more than happy to give you any type of feedback. And, when we play an experience, we tend to play it very blindly, very open. So you as a developer may have created an experience, and because you know it inside and out, we're going to play it completely differently than you. So if you give us the opportunity to play it live, play it blind for you, then you might learn something about your experience that can help you make a higher quality product when you publish that into your lands in the metaverse. So definitely Hen Game Studio, we will play your experience on Monday, about 3 hours earlier than now. We'll play your experience here live on the show. I really appreciate you guys coming through. It looks like your team is on YouTube and on Twitch. That's really nice to see you guys really bringing the commitment here. Appreciate you all. We are going to put us into a post-show screen here in just a second. And when we do that, we are going to search for somebody over on twitch.tv to raid, if raids are applicable, playing in the metaverse or creating in the metaverse or using the asset creation software VoxEdit. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, congratulations to all the winners here today. in the top 10. Alex, thank you for being here despite being sick. I really appreciate you showing up here for us today.
Thank you for taking over the hosting responsibilities from me. It's a blast to be back with the boys again.
I want to see a Saturday where our faces are on the screen at the same time, Alex. I want to see it.
We can make that happen.
We can make that happen for sure.
Yeah, we'll make that happen.
All right.
And for sure, chat, there was no giveaway today, but show up on Monday and we'll do 2.
You want to do 2?
Time.
Look at this guy. He's like, we're just giving away 2. We're going to give them all away. All right. We'll be there on Monday, ladies and gentlemen. He's a lot. He a lot. The guy created it. You get it. No, wait. No, not everybody.
Oh, wait. What a kid.
Quite a lot of you.